It started small, just a glimpse from the corner of my eye. At night, I'd see the lights on in the house across the street. I always thought it was just another family. Maybe the house was being renovated or sold. But it didn't seem right. There was something off about it. And there were often sounds. The house had been empty for as long as I could remember. No one had ever moved in, and no one had moved out. It had stood there, abandoned, almost like it was waiting for something. But now, those lights, they flickered, then went dark, then flickered again, and then stayed on. It stirred. It sensed that there was something there, and a theft of an absolute most delightful. At first I assumed someone had bought it, maybe a new family, new neighbours to get to know, but that sort didn't sit right with me. I'd never seen a moving truck. No one came or went, just the lights. They were the only sign of life every night they came on. It was always the same time, around 11:45 p.m. I'd watch them for a few minutes, just to see if someone would show themselves, maybe peer out of the window, but no one ever did. There was never a sound from inside, not even a whisper of movement, just the lights. I began to feel watched, like the house was observing me, waiting. I tried to ignore it, but that night something changed. The lights were on again, but this time they weren't flickering. They were steady, bright. And then I saw something move, a shadow darting behind one of the curtains. I froze. Was it a person? I couldn't tell. I grabbed my phone and decided to record it, but the moment I pointed the camera at the house, the lights went out. Complete darkness. I waited and waited. Nothing. But then, the next night, it happened again. The lights came on at 11:45 and I was again asleep, saying it was just a flicker. I checked my phone this time, recorded the time just to be sure. The same flicker. The same shadow. It was as if someone or something was taunting me, keeping me on edge. I felt like I was losing my mind. I lay down and stared up at the profile ceiling of my bed. I needed answers, so I decided to go over there. I waited until I could see the light flicker again, then grabbed the flashlight and crossed the street. The house was just as I remembered it. Old, decrepit, dark windows staring back at me. The door was slightly ajar. I shouldn't have gone in, I knew that. But curiosity took over. I stepped inside. The air was thick with dust, and the floor creaked beneath me. Everything was still. Not a sound, not even the hum of a fridge or the distant echo of a car passing by. "Ah!" I called out, but no one answered. The house seemed empty, lifeless. I moved through the rooms, each one more suffocating than the last. The light from my flashlight barely cut through the darkness. And then I found it, a room at the back of the house. The door was closed, but it wasn't locked. I pushed it open. The room was pristine, not dusty, not abandoned. There was a small table in the middle with a chair. And in that chair was a man. His face was pale, his eyes wide open, staring directly at me. I backed away, my heart racing. How could someone be in here? How long had he been here? I felt sweat prickle down my back. He didn't speak. He just watched me, his eyes never leaving mine. Then something even stranger happened. The lights in the house flickered on. I gasped. I wasn't imagining it. The house was never empty. It had never been empty. Someone had been watching me the entire time. The man stood up. His movements were slow, deliberate, like he was expecting me. He walked towards me, his eyes still fixed on mine. I stumbled backward, my mind racing. There was no way out. I had to leave. I turned and ran. The house seemed to stretch on forever. The walls closed in as I sprinted toward the door. Just before I reached it, I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. Heavy, deliberate steps. I flung the door open and bolted outside, not daring to look back. And when I finally made it home, I locked the door behind me and sat in silence, my heart pounding. I never saw the lights again, but every time I look out the window, I can't shake the feeling that someone is still watching me from that house. The house across the street. And now every night, the flicker of a light across the street seems like a warning, like a reminder that I'm not alone. Someone's always watching.